And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
The smoke in the air of our Concord bridges and Pearl Harbors is always smelled first by the farmers who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight.
But if you embark on instituting a society where government protects you from yourself, you're in big trouble, and that's what they're doing. That's all government is force. I mean, do you have a choice about paying Medicare taxes? This government uses force to mold behavior or mold the economy. They've overstepped the bounds, and they violated the whole concept of our revolution and our Constitution.
Welcome, everybody, to this New Year's Eve edition of the Freedom Link, right here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I'm Joe Joseph, along with my partners in crime, John King and Tim Watts. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Happy New Year, Joey. Happy New Year, everyone.
Let's just say New Year right now for me. Yeah. New Year, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get so optimistic about it, huh?
Well, you know, I am forever the optimist, the glass is half full and everything else, but I have to say things are not looking good. But this is eerily reminiscent, too, of last year. Remember, around this time, we were dealing with the NDAA and the indefinite detention and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you it was me that said, how could it ever get any worse? I got to stop saying that.
I know. It seems like every time you say something like that, they just have to throw something back in your face. Well, since you asked.
Well, so I'm going to start off this, the last broadcast of 2012 by saying, it can only get better from here. Is that better?
There you go.
Okay. Well, the only way that it does get better, folks, is through the effort. You have to be tirelessly dedicated to fighting this machine that's been put in place to enslave us. And that's really what it comes down to, isn't it, Timmy?
Absolutely. Now, I spent my afternoon typing my congressman. You know, I typed both sides of the aisle. So a letter off to each one of them, to my congressman, my senator, and, you know, you do what you have to do, folks, sleep or not. This is a war we're in. And, you know, in war, Joey, it's like we were talking about, you get short shifts on your sleep. You know, you do what you can do. And, folks, you've got to speak up now. It's just so important to speak up now.
That's right. You know, we often fall prey to the culture of convenience that's been kind of rooted in this country for the last, 50, 60 years or so. You know, having everything at our fingertips, having everything so readily available that we've become lazy in a way. You know, of course, I'm not calling everybody out there lazy, but our lifestyle, if you compare it to that of other people in the world, we've really got it good. We really do. And some of that, some of the creature comforts that we have caused us to become docile. You know, we're not as fired up as we used to be. We're not as plugged in as we used to be because now we have so many things that distract us that it's very hard to keep your eye on the ball. And we're at a point now where if you don't get your eye on the ball and do it now, the ball's going to disappear. And we're not going to be able to hit or catch that ball at all if we don't straighten things out. And it's prefaced by, I'll play a couple of these sound clips from Dianne Feinstein. And I'm sure you've heard it today on other media, alternative media outlets. But I want to play this today because this is what we're up against. Now, mind you, Dianne Feinstein took an oath to uphold, support, and defend the Constitution of the United States, much like I have. Only I hold true to my oath every day. I live it every day. And this is what this woman has to say as she sits there with the confidence of her constituency. Hold on. Here she is, right here, this windbag. Oh, makes me sick.
California Senator Dianne Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here.
And so, isn't that interesting? And you know, a special thanks to Alex Jones for bringing this up, because I didn't know about this clip, and I heard it on his broadcast and saw it on his website. So, you know, hats off to him for that, for finding this. But so that sets the stage. You see her attitude. Now you have to ask yourself, why would a woman or an American, no less, be that against firearms when it's her sworn duty to protect that right? And
why?
Well, yeah. So let me play this clip, because this is from a Senate hearing where they're talking about this, and this is what Dianne Feinstein has to say.
Anecdote about terrorism, because less than 20 years ago, I was the target of a terrorist group. It was the New World Liberation Front. They blew up power stations and put a bomb at my home when my husband was dying of cancer. And the bomb was set to detonate around 2 o'clock in the morning, but it was a construction explosive that doesn't detonate when it drops below freezing. It doesn't usually freeze in San Francisco, but on this night it dropped below freezing and the bomb didn't detonate. I was very lucky, but I thought of what might have happened. Later, this same group shot out all the windows of my home, and I know the sense of helplessness that people feel. I know the urge to arm yourself, because that's what I did. I was trained in firearms. I'd walk to the hospital when my husband was sick. I carried a concealed weapon. I made the determination that if somebody was going to try to take me out, I was going to take them with me. Now, having said all of that, that was a period of time ago. And I've watched for these 20 years as terrorism has increased, both on the far extremist left and the far extremist right in this country.
Isn't that interesting, Tim? And here's the thing. You know, I think you said it best when you talk about Dianne Feinstein. Why don't you recap on your thoughts on her? And
well, it's pretty basic. I mean, she's been a member of the Council on Foreign Relations for years.
Yeah.
And, Council on Foreign Relations, their whole resolve is to, dissolve the sovereignty of the United States so that they can push us to their one world order. And I was familiar with that 1990 video of her, because I remember at the time she did lead the fight on that. And so it's not coincidental that, once again, Miss Sia Farr is also leading the fight to take away our guns. And to her point about this terrorism on the far left and the far right, Joey, can you name me those occasions that she's talking about from the far left and the far right that's so widely rampant here in this country?
No, it's all isolated. And isn't it interesting that she went after that incident and went and armed herself to protect herself? And here she is, right? Now here she is arming herself to protect herself from the terrorists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would she want to disarm Joe Schmo American and stop him from being able to protect himself from the terrorists?
Because when the American people find out how far the government fist is up their anus, they're going to do something about it, or at least they hope they won't do something about it.
Right.
So they want to take your guns, so that when the people actually do wake up and realize that they're over a barrel and their pants and underwear are down around their knees, and Uncle Sam's standing behind them with a big one. That's one of the first things they're gonna look for. And the one thing these politicians today fear is a French-style revolution.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, folks, here's. Well, Timmy, you had a thought, didn't you?
No, I was just going to say, she's not worried anymore because she has heavily armed bodyguards now. And to that point, I would say, and we've already proposed that with, our petition on the front of Orion Talk Radio, that, if you're going to take away our weapons to defend ourselves, then we want you to lay down your arms as well. So I would call folks, attention to this petition we've got up, because what it asks for, if you're going to take our assault weapons, then we want yours. We want an across-the-board level playing field. So please, folks, go to the front page of Orion Talk Radio, look for the petition. It's near the top, and please sign the petition. Kind of hope that Alex Jones and his crew will help pick that up, since we've helped promote his petitions too. All very well done. But this one is the only one that really calls for across the board. We want your guns as well. And then maybe she won't feel so secure, now that her bodyguards don't have the firepower to defend her.
Yes, indeed. So this little trollop, if you will, is out and hell-bent to get your guns. Folks, that's treason. When you go and you usurp the Constitution as she is saying and has done in the past, that's treason, and that's punishable by jail, and in a time of war it's punishable by death. And this is the thing that we have to look at. How serious are we in defending our beloved republic? How serious are we? Are you willing to sacrifice some of these creature comforts and sacrifice some of the time and do your due diligence to protect and preserve this country for your kids, for your children? You don't think the Second Amendment has to do anything like that? You're sadly mistaken, because if they can take that, they can take them all. Yeah, and if they take that one, Tim, they are going to take them all.
Yep, and you're right, Joe. You've got to find a reason to get motivated, folks. If you're not motivated about this, for crying out loud, you don't have a pulse. But as Joe said, do it for your kids. And if you don't have kids, do it for somebody, for future generations. If you don't want to do it for that, do it for all the blood and the sacrifice that all of our forefathers laid down for us, for the sacrifice they made to give us these rights. Find a reason to get mad about this, to get motivated. Because if you wait too long, it's going to be just like what happened in England. And they said they waited too long. They admit it. And we can't do that.
No, we can't. Guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Suspect everyone who approaches that jewel. Unfortunately, nothing will preserve it but downright force. When you give up that force, you are ruined. Patrick Henry. These people knew what we were going to face because they faced it themselves. And just like we've seen time and time again in history, like we showed last night in Conspiracy Chronicles, why they want to take your guns away. We gave you a historical approach so that you can take that and show it to people and say, look, this is why. This has been a conspiracy since 1773 and even before that. You have to understand that the power structure, the Illuminists, the New World Order, the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, have wanted this for a long time. They had it before. We've had world-dominating powers before. They want it again.
Yeah.
And guess what? Ain't going to happen. You have to always, 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 always be suspicious.
Yeah.
Of anything. You always have to look at things skeptically almost. Not be too much of a skeptic where you're a freaking downer. But at the same time, come on, folks. Engage your brain and the critical thinking skills necessary to vet these people out for what they are. We have to expose them. Bring them into the light. Let me tell you something. Demons don't like the light. They don't like the light. And this Feinstein is a demon. She is truly a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the question, and Ange just posed a great question, Tim. Why do they want our freedoms?
Well,
what do you think?
They just don't want us to have, they obviously think they're above us. We are serfs to them, And John, he's got a comment. Johnny, what do you have to say on this? Well, lost John.
No, it takes him a minute. He's not as quick on the draw with the mute button, you know what I mean? We're working on it, though. He's in training.
No, it's really not important now. Go ahead.
The Emily.
Well,
Never mind.
it's really not important anymore. Sorry, God. Get out of it. Just say it.
Actually, I was waiting on you to segue to me. I had actually forgotten what I was going to say. It took
Never
so
mind.
long.
Join the Tim and Joe Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is it. Thank you for saying the key word there, club. When I talk to people about the Illuminati and how old the organization is, spanning 200 years, 400 years, 500 years, and yes, even 800 years, people cannot wrap their mind around this, and they balk at this, that someone should have an agenda such as this, that they should want to form a one-world government. Well, it's not someone, it's a belief. And the people that adhere to this belief, they bring them in and they make them a member of the inner circle. And these people that are in the inner circle are given special privilege and special rights granted to them, and they work towards taking away your liberties, your freedoms, and yes, they're going to limit how long you live, installing death panels. They're going to limit your family size. They're going to legislate you to death.
Yeah, that's right, John. And you know what's interesting? You bring up a great point. People don't want or can't fathom this. And it took me a while to understand why. But I understand why now. And it's because in our day-to-day lives, folks, we see things through the jaded vision of our life experience and our feelings and our emotions. But it's all central to us. Human beings these days have a very hard time of stepping out of themselves and looking at the big picture and seeing things for what they are instead of through their jaded vision. And that's the issue that we're up against, especially when it comes to talking to your coworkers and your friends and your family. Sometimes it's very hard to crack that. Now, I've made inroads because, just by doing this stuff for so long, over time, you start to find out what works and what doesn't work. And that's the one thing that I've come to learn based on the people that I've helped see the light, I guess you could say, is that you have to somehow get them to step outside themselves. You have to somehow let them see things not through their eyes, but through the eyes of history. All of these things that we're up against now have happened before at some point in time. This is not a new idea. The New World Order, heck, first of all, we always referred to Karl Marx and the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. But where did Karl Marx get that idea from? That was not his idea. You have to go back to Adam Weishaupt and the creation of the Illuminati in 1776. And when you see that, and then you find out that, Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit. And that the Jesuit teachings go back hundreds and hundreds of years before that. And we can keep going back and back and back. Hell, probably to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. So don't think that this is new, folks. This is not new at all, is it, Tim?
No, not at all. It's just one more way to oppress the people. And again, they really don't look at us, on even ground, Joe. I mean, they look at us as serfs. They look at us as lower subjects to them because they're privileged for all the wealth they've stolen from us over the years.
Amen to that, bro. And you know why they're more dangerous now than ever before? The reason why they're more dangerous now than ever before is because their technocracy has gotten they have so much power at their fingertips through technological advances that, of course, we're at a sad disadvantage. But never, ever, ever doubt that first of all, arming yourself, I hear the argument, well, what's an AR-15 going to do up against one of them there weapons they got there? Let me tell you something. If it wasn't a threat, they wouldn't be going after them.
Very good. Absolutely, Joe.
Remember that. If it wasn't a threat to them, they would not be going after your guns. So you have to understand that. Number one, say, well, if you've got so much power and you have so many weapons, why? Why is it such a priority to disarm us? And that's because they cannot get through with their plans with an armed citizenry in the United States. For the world cannot conquer the world. Their path to world power is through the United States. The world knows this. People in the UK and in Europe and in Africa and in Asia, they all know this. They know that we're it. Mark my words, folks. U.S. goes down. Everybody's going down with us.
Well, what's the old quote from the Japanese emperor? You know, they'd never attack the mainland of the United States because they know full well that there's a gun behind every blade of grass.
That's right. It's very hard to defend that. Look at Vietnam. Look at Korea. Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. Afghanistan's a place where empires go to die. Why? Because a bunch of people who lives in caves, they can't defeat them?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
a
right?
good example. That's a good example, Joe. Afghanistan. Look at how many people have tried to topple Afghanistan.
And just like that, the United States will not be disarmed as well. And I got news for you. There's other countries in the world that will not allow this to happen. I'm sure that's the case. I'm confident. I can't believe that this would be that the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers have that much sway over like the Chinese government. I don't know. It's a hard sell for me. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they've got all the money in the earth for the most part. But just understand that the first part is to take your guns away. After that, it's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. In July 2001, a UN spokesman said, quote, civilian ownership of firearms in the U.S. threaten the legitimate power monopoly of the state. Doesn't get much better than that, folks. Doesn't get much more cut and dry than that. When we come back, we'll get with the King's Court. And after the King's Court, we're going to talk Fiscal Cliff. Because, they came to an agreement. Let's all sing Kumbaya as we ring in the new year. We'll be right back.
Your abilities are awesome and may be called upon by concentrating your thought energy with definite purpose. Just concentrate and the power will be yours. Think clearer.
Welcome back, folks. Talking about this, and, I said that Dianne Feinstein's a demon. She truly is. She truly is. And I'm going to give you some words of wisdom. If you want to know how to fight this, I've got the playbook, and I can tell you how to win. Okay? And I'm going to go to Ephesians 6. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Need I say more?
Amen, Brother Joseph.
Where we go, I'm telling you. This is a very easy thing to do. I keep telling people, you can't see through the smoke and mirrors unless you're spiritually grounded. I'm telling you. I know it seems a bit weird. I know to all those people, you haven't done the research. Do the research. It will always lead you back to this, to spiritual battle. That's what's going on. It's truly the battle of good versus evil at its core. And that's the way to start the battle, is to put on your spiritual armor and do battle. So with that said, let's go to the King's Court. Call it into session. Johnny, the floor is yours.
As the rest of the media looks back on 2012, I say the hell with 2012. That was yesterday's news. When I'm driving a car, I generally do not operate it out the rearview mirror. I may end up driving off a fiscal cliff. I want to look ahead to see what's new for the calendar year and what it has in store for me and you. First off, we have the fiscal cliff. Fear, fear, fear. You know, we could have to raise taxes if we would not have to raise taxes if we would close down some of the over 700 military bases around the world. We would not be anywhere on the mountain, let alone near the fiscal cliff, if the government would get tough on corruption as they are on our rights. Secondly, we have a gun ban. When Congress comes back into session, Dianne Feinstein will introduce her bill of the Great Dog and Pony Show. One of the things she has set out to do is limit the number of cartridges that can fit into a clip. They want to limit it to 10 rounds per clip. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the equivalent of Congress taking a dump on your pillow. It's like the Big Gulp 32-ounce soda ban in New York City. Now you can't buy any soft drinks over 16 ounces. There's nothing to stop anyone from buying 2 soft drinks at 16 ounces. Let's see. 16 plus 16 equals 32. Now, that ban accomplished jack squat. So all someone need to do is tape 2 magazines end to end and back to back, and the ban accomplished jack squat. The only thing it did was give the names of those politicians that back it the recognition to the zombie sheeple. The next thing will be coming up in February is the national debt ceiling. Will they raise it, or will we go bankrupt as a nation? I think they'll raise it. They have to. 89 million more guns were sold. This means higher prices at the register. Yes, the new year greets our nation with many challenges. One way you can fight back is to spread a word about the Freedom Link and Orion Talk Radio. We can't meet our mission goals if people are not listening. We have found that you are listening. We grew by leaps and bounds in 2012, and we're just getting started. Spread the word by letting people know of our website. Make flyers and post them where people congregate, like bus stops and in storefront windows. In 2013, I want to go global. I would like to see a Freedom Link chapter all over the world in several countries: England, Ireland, Russia, China, Greece, everywhere. Join us in the fight against the globalist insurrection. Let's make 2013 a year of change and a year of freedom. Link to us and add your voice to ours and make the Freedom Link better and stronger. Interested parties can email me at thefreedomlink@centurylink.net and add new chapter in the subject line. We look forward to your help, be it a few bucks at the chip in donation button, or posting flyers, or telling people about us, or a new chapter. From the Freedom Link family to your family, we wish you a brighter and happier new year. Court adjourned.
Couldn't have said it better myself, buddy. And let's not forget, too, on the front page of Orion Talk Radio, we have a new petition up that our good friend Tim Watts started. And please, 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 please make sure you go there and click on the banner. And this has to do with disarming all of active duty military, all civilian police, anybody now that totes a gun, you know?
Well, not active duty military, just domestic, you know. And that
domestic military, like National Guard. Yeah, right.
Syria.
Exactly right. So if we can't have guns, and the government derives its power from the people, so if we decide we're not going to have guns, then we should decide that they don't have guns, right? Right. Okay, now moving on.
We've also got a link up there, though, folks. If you want to contact your congressman, we made it real easy for you. At the very top of the page, it's got the Capitol Hill switchboard number. All you have to do is call that number, ask for your congressman, and you'll be switched through to their office. And also, if you click on the banner, it will take you to a page that will allow you to email your representative. So we've tried to make it as easy as possible. So now it's up to you. You got to step up and you've got to call these people, or you got to write them, and you got to make your voice known now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Gosh, I'll tell you what, you guys are on point tonight. Good grief. Make it easy, boys. That's all I'm saying. You make it easy. Anyway, now we're talking about the fiscal cliff. And Dennis Kucinich came today on the House floor and talked about this fiscal cliff. And he put it in perspective. I admire a lot of the things that Dennis Kucinich says, and I think he hit it spot on here. Let's listen in.
The question settling over this Capitol as we face the fiscal cliff. How could this be happening? It's hyper-partisanship meets Citizens United. Americans' politics are so saturated with money and so politically polarized that the system cannot function to meet its obligations to keep the government running. But make no mistake about it, government does work. It's working for Pentagon contractors, for arms manufacturers, for oil companies, for coal companies. It's working for those who want to hold down wages and suppress the rights of workers. It's working for the drug companies whose sweetheart deal on prescription drugs blew a hole in the Medicare budget. The apparent dysfunctionality of government masks the reality that the tax resources of government increasingly are going to the highest bidders in a $4 billion national election. The debris at the bottom of the fiscal cliff will be the wrecked hopes of doctors of Medicare patients, unemployed workers who can't protect their families, middle-class taxpayers who just can't pay anymore. Our nation's pose at the fiscal cliff is proof of the necessity of a constitutional amendment, H.J. Res 100, to rid this nation of the corrupting influence of special interest money with public financing, which recreates a true government of the people.
Hot dog. I love me some Dennis Kucinich sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Timmy.
Yeah. But for him and Ron Paul, I mean, the two voices we've had from both sides of the aisle that both speak the same speak, and we're going to lose them both. You know, that is very sad at this time.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. Now, Zero Hedge, Bruce Casting of the Zero Hedge, actually kind of analyzed what the deal was, and it's not set in stone yet. Nothing's been voted on, but he wrote a article, Cliff Deal Winners and Losers. Now, you remember we here at the Freedom Link kind of laid it all out, and remember, no one's a winner here. There is no winner. There's no way they can avert this. All they can do, and what they're doing now, is they kick the can down the road, which is going to make it even more devastating when it finally hits. But we're going over. So just understand that. Remember, the terminology is there to make it look like they're going to save the day, when in reality, that doesn't happen. Now, it says, my read of the president's speech is that there is a deal that will avoid the cliff. So enjoy New Year's Eve. Give it another 30 days, and we'll be right back into the soup. Here's my scorecard on the deal. If you're unemployed, you're a winner. You get another extension of benefits. If you're employed, you're a loser. Fully, 155 million workers are going to pay 2% more on income starting tomorrow. The increase in FICA taxes will come to a lumpy $120 billion. This will rank as one of the largest year-over-year tax increases in history. This is a very regressive tax increase. There is a $108K cap on what is subject to FICA taxes. So high incomes, they don't feel the bite. But those who earn average income will see a meaningful reduction in disposable income, on average about $2,000 per household. This is a decidedly undemocratic outcome, that rich avoid the taxes, lower incomes pay a disproportionate share. Who insisted that this unfair outcome was part of the deal? Why? Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama. Interesting. If you make between $250,000 and $400,000, you're a very big winner. Congratulations. Half of the top 2% just got a free pass. If you make over $450,000, the Cliff deal says you have to pay more taxes. I wouldn't worry about the top 1% too much, though. That group has 18% of all the income. The move from 35 to 39.6% for America's richest will not matter, probably at all. None of them even pay the old rate. And they probably won't pay this rate, too.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, and Timmy, if you're one of the 33 million taxpayers who avoid falling prey to the alternative minimum tax, and folks, if you're not aware of what the AMT is, please read it. If you don't fall prey, you dodged a bullet. This would have taken an average of $4,000 out of your pocket. If you're one of the 4 million hopeless losers who've been stuck with AMT in prior years, you're going to get stuck again. And he goes on to say, I'm one of those poor souls who's mired in this tax trap. It's a very unfair outcome for me. I make a fraction of the top 1%, but because of the alternative minimum tax, I pay a minimum federal tax of 28%, while the top 1% pays an average of only 15%. And he asks, where's the damn cyanide?
Yeah. It's outrageous, First off, the middle class is the class that's totally falling apart right now. To do anything, to put any more weight on the middle class is absolutely, nation suicide, if you will. The big problem that we've got in this country and the world are the ultra billionaires. I would start the tax, anybody, that's in the $1 million range. I'd forget these people that are making the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Go for the millionaires, but not just the millionaires, but the billionaires. These are the people that doubled their income during the Bush-Cheney years. They did. They doubled their income in a short, 4-year period of time. How much more do they want? They say, don't rescind the Bush tax cuts. They were good for us. Damn right they were good for you, but they weren't good for the middle class. So take your lumps. You made some money, and gird your loins. It's like a little bit to those guys. We've got, I think in 2010, Joe, we had 401 billionaires in this country, probably more now. And at the same time, we had 1,011 billionaires in the world. And these are the blight on society. These are the ones that are enjoying everything at our expense.
That's right.
Class.
It speaks to the old adage, in times of crisis, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
Absolutely.
Ain't that right, John King?
That's absolutely right. On the way to work this morning, I heard that Obama lifted the federal pay freeze, giving all government employees a raise starting in 2013. Going over to Fiscal Cliff, nation's bankrupt, they're raising your taxes. You would think that these retards would get a little bit more fiscally savvy and want to save money. But no, they're raising your taxes and they're going to give it to themselves.
Now, here's another interesting thing, right? As we talk about this, and Timmy, you brought up something, the defense industry. Okay, the defense industry is going to have the bubbly out tonight, ringing in the new year. You know why? No sequestration for them for the time being. And how about investors? Oh, they're going to have it out as well because they dodged a big bullet, at least for the next 60 days. Keeping the 15% capital gains rate for most incomes is a plus. But the new 20% rate is for the top flyers. That's a downright gift. That's a gift for them. And then finally, the American people are the very biggest losers. The Cliff deal just sets up another crisis before the snow melts.
Yeah.
Nothing has been accomplished that addresses the uncertainty factor. The deal ensures a big deficit for 2013. It will not increase tax revenue from the top 1%, but it will result in one of the biggest increases in payroll taxes in the history of this nation that will hurt the bottom 40%. And of all the losers, the biggest one of them all is Washington. Democrats, Republicans, Senate, House, and Obama all come off looking like chumps. They didn't deliver anything but a Band-Aid. Mm-hmm. So he gives the grade of the Cliff deal a D-. And he's spot on. It's like, and he's not talking also about, now the 2% increase is the Social Security tax. That's your FICA tax. Now we also pay Medicare tax. Now Medicare tax under the Obamacare mandate, insurance care mandate, is going up 3.8% on all wage earners. 3.8%. You're looking at a 5.8% increase minimum in your taxes this year. Minimum. Now all you that make, and I can't remember the level for the AMT. Folks, you got to research the AMT. because the alternative minimum tax, the income level is not that high because it was written in the 60s. So people making, and I want to say it's over, like $50,000, $60,000 a year are subject to a mandatory minimum 28% tax rate, which is unbelievable. I mean, you want to talk about, that's not even middle class these days. I mean, really think about it. It's not middle class. If you make $60,000 a year, you know something, in most areas, you're barely scraping by. I mean, barely scraping by, you know? And especially if you have kids, it's just ridiculous. So, I mean, that's barely minimum or middle class, you know? So this deal is not looking good at all. And even CNN Money writes an article today, why your paycheck is getting smaller no matter what. Isn't that interesting? So even the mainstream media can't help but chime in on this too. It says from the middle-class Americans, there may be no escaping higher taxes come January. Maybe? No, there is no escaping. That's because the government has temporarily lowered the payroll tax rate in 2011 to 4.2 from 6.2% in an effort to keep more cash in the pockets of Americans and provide a boost to the economy. That tax cut, which applies to the first $113,700 in annual earnings, expires in December. Come 2013, most of the country's 160 million workers will see smaller paychecks. Of course, monthly paychecks will have $50 less for those earning $30,000 annually, and will shave off $189.50, and this is off of those earning a total of $113,700. So per month, that's what you're looking at. Whoop, see you later. And all I can say to you is this, folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, for all of you who are like me that can't afford a hit like that, and I know it sounds, to some it may sound a little bit over the top, but right now, if I have a $20 bill in my pocket, I feel like I've got $1 million. I really do. I can't remember the last time when I had $20 to be able to, you know what? I'm just going to squander this. Let me light my cigar with this $20 bill. No. Just those days are gone. Of course, they were in my dreams, but they're gone nonetheless. I don't even dream about it anymore. So, boys, I mean, we're to ring in the new year and say Happy New Year. I'm just not seeing the happy.
Yeah.
You know, not in the sense that it can't be, but in order for it to happen, it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice, and it's going to take a lot of plugging in from a lot of Americans that are not plugged in right now. Any final thoughts, guys?
Well, yeah, you're right about getting plugged in, Joe. They all need to start, getting active. And that doesn't mean just sit on your couch and complain or, and it's nice that you talk to the folks at work, but, start marshaling people together right now and start letting Congress hear your voice. Again, on the front page of Orion Talk Radio. Go there and the call number is there for you. Call your congressman, write your congressman. It's very easy. We've done as much as we can to put that in your hands, but you have to let them know that you're annoyed about this, that we're mad about this. If they don't hear from you, there's no threat to them. They fear us, and you have to let them know your voice. Seriously, just take the time, the few minutes it's going to take to write them, call them, let your voice be heard.
I'm going to remain optimistic, and I think a lot more people are going to wake up and see the shell game that's going on, and that's going to make them, the globalists and the politicians, be even more scared than they are now. I think that's the only way we're going to defeat them is by educating the people and letting the people know that the wool is being pulled over their eyes and they're being robbed blind. Because if I don't, then it's basically abandon all hope, all who enter here. And I mean 2013.
And Timmy, plug that petition one more time.
Well, on the front page, right underneath, a little farther down from our congressional banner there, but you'll find the petition to ask Congress It's the White House petition to deny them, if they're going to restrict guns from us, we want the same restriction from them. Let's just put it that way, an across-the-board restriction, okay?
Amen to that, buddy. And with that, we here at the Freedom Link wish everybody a happy and safe new year. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.